Good morning and welcome to part 2 of the Boudicca Way, which is going to consist of about 8 or 9 miles of lovely Norfolk countryside. And I've just left Upper Stoke behind me and we're going to end today at the tiny village of Tasburgh. And there's actually some really nice historic treats, especially in that village, which I'm really excited to see. I've got a few villages I'm going to pass through, a couple of churches hopefully we can see, and just really looking forward to enjoying this walk as we head south, eventually arriving at Dis in a few days' time. So now in the tiny village of Shottersham, and this wonderful building behind me is the old Duke's Head Inn, and it dates to 1712 and is grade 2 star listed. And opposite, on this awesome little hill here, and it almost looks like a moat going around it, is the Church of All Saints, which is also grade 2 star listed. And this one dates to the medieval period and later, with an awesome 15th century tower, like a skyscraper above the surrounding landscape. It's amazing. So I'm just in the woods here leaving Shottersham and came across this sign, and it's really interesting because there's a big depression behind here and you can easily miss it. But it was actually the impact site of a V2 rocket during World War II. And it says on the 6th of October 1944 at 9:25, that was when the rocket impacted here, narrowly missing the church. This lovely church here is the Church of St Mary the Virgin in Saxtingham, Nethergate, and it's Grade 2 star listed, built in the medieval period, and it has a 15th century tower, just like the previous church that I visited. What's special about this one is that the main fabric is actually sort of 11th century, and you can see a nice defining line most of the way up the wall, which is where it was heightened in the medieval period. And alongside is Old Hall, and it's just behind these trees here. There's a wonderful view down the driveway, and that dates to the first half of the 17th century, and is also Grade 2 star listed. And it's rare because it's a timber framed house. You don't get many of those in Norfolk. Most of the time they're made out of brick. It's a really, really nice building. So I've just arrived in the little village of Tasburgh, and there is one more impressive historic feature to see on this walk, and it might not really look like much right now, but this massive field to my right is actually part of an enclosure, and they've done lots of excavations and surveys of this area, and they proved that this was actually the site of a Saxon settlement. And by looking at the earthworks just near the church, they actually determined that originally it was probably Iron Age or sort of Romano-British, so prehistoric still. And where it is on top of a hill, it's kind of interpreted as being a bit of a hill fort, and then later used as a Saxon settlement. And there's lots of Saxon remains. They've seen post holes and pits and kilns and things like that in this field. And just over here is the church in Tasburgh, and this is Grade 1 listed, and the tower itself actually dates to the early 11th century, and that is a Saxon tower. So it's likely that this whole enclosure was occupied obviously in the Saxon period, and the church has actually remained in use through those years, and then later added to and adjusted in the early medieval period right through to present day.